What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and today we're talking about Tom Clancy's XDefiant, because this is not a Tom Clancy game. From my personal perspective, of course, by definition, it is a Tom Clancy game because Ubisoft says that it's a Tom Clancy game. But throughout the years, Tom Clancy has kind of become synonymous with the adjective tactical for a lot of players. And it goes all the way back to the origins of the Tom Clancy universe of games. I'm thinking about stuff like Rainbow Six and Rainbow Six Vegas. I'm thinking about Ghost Recon when it comes to stuff like Future Soldier, when it comes to stuff like Splinter Cell even. All of these are very tactical games, and that still continues even in stuff like Wildlands and Breakpoint. These are all tactical. And I'm sure there are tactical elements within XDefiant, but overwhelmingly this is just a hero shooter in what you would find with your Overwatch or any of these similar games that you see in today's day and age, even some Valorant DNA in here, and you mix that with something like a Call of Duty, just a 6v6 first-person shooter. I will say, I'm not totally against the idea. The more that I watch this gameplay, the more down that I am to actually see what they bring to the table, but by no means do I think this is a Tom Clancy game by the traditional definition. Like I said, it is by name, just not really by nature. So, with that being said, that's my major criticism. Doesn't feel like a Tom Clancy game. On top of that, I'm not a big fan of the way the game is branded. I don't really like the name XDefiant. And I also think that it's kind of strange that they take this kind of cyber hacker aesthetic like what you would see in Watch Dogs. They have that kind of branding, very gamer-y, and I'm not really big on that. You see that with the XDefiant branding with the big XD sticker plastered on the logo. Just not really a good look in my opinion. But again, that could just be personal preference, so let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'm just not really digging it. Now, let's talk about what I do like. I like the gunplay. I must admit that while I haven't gone hands-on with the game, of course this is a fresh announcement, it looks very tight, and I think that is the biggest focus here for the dev team, is to make sure that gunplay feels good, because no matter how interesting the mechanics of a first-person shooter are, if the gunplay doesn't feel good, then the entire game is pretty much a wash for the most part. And so that's something that the dev team is aware of. They said it in today's announcement, and they are working very hard to make that gameplay as tight as it can possibly be. On top of that, I will say that this has already gotten a lot of negative feedback from the community. The first comment that comes to mind is one that's asking where Splinter Cell is. Oh, look, it's not Splinter Cell. Ubisoft is working on this free-to-play shooter, which is pretty much in line with what people would kind of expect from a quote-unquote generic first-person shooter that's free-to-play. But as much negative press as it's getting and as much negative conversation as this is getting in the gaming community, I also saw somebody on Twitter that echoed my thoughts. I haven't seen a legitimately new, interesting arcade shooter in quite some time, and so Ubisoft, not a small name in the gaming space, it would be nice to see something come onto the scene that can reasonably compete with a Call of Duty or with a Battlefield, and I don't think that XDefiant is going to be that game, but I think that as a franchise, it has the potential to have an impact on the gaming space as a whole if it's done properly. That's the biggest key. If it's done properly. We saw the experiment with Hyperscape in the Battle Royale space. That simply did not pan out, and of course Ubisoft has seen a lot of misses over the course of the past few years, with Tom Clancy in particular. Both Wildlands and Breakpoint were kind of flops for the Ghost Recon section of the Tom Clancy universe, and so going forward, there's a lot to prove with new ideas, and I think that they're starting to get to a point where there is a market saturation with Tom Clancy games. The name is beginning to lose its significance because you're so, I don't know how to say this properly, but you're using the name Tom Clancy so frequently and throwing it on everything just to get more eyes on it. It's beginning to lose its impact. It's almost a boy who cried wolf kind of situation, to where you're watering down the potency of that namesake in the gaming space. And so I think this game is the biggest risk that they have taken in the Tom Clancy universe, because it is so averse to what people expect Tom Clancy to actually be. But it's the perfect opportunity to expand the definition of Tom Clancy in the gaming space if it is handled properly. And the power ups look cool. I like the fact that they're baking in these different factions from around the Division universe. I think that's very neat. And it's nice to see that they're kind of baking that lore into how this game actually functions. My biggest questions: what will the monetization look like? Obviously, I'm sure there will be skins. What do we have to expect? What do we have to look forward to as far as a roadmap goes? And the good part about all of that is that companies have been using this free-to-play model for a number of years at this point, so they're beginning to learn how to monetize these appropriately so that it doesn't feel quite so nickel and dimey for the player themselves. So, all of that being said, what are my impressions of Tom Clancy's XDefiant? Ultimately, I'm excited for the game. I'm very much so looking forward to diving in on day one. I've signed up for the beta test, whatever you want to call it, the test servers. I do want to get in. I do want to play the game because I'm a sucker for a good FPS, and I always love seeing new competition hit the scene. Will this be the end-all be-all of first-person shooters? No. Is it a new cool idea? Absolutely, and I'm always down for new cool ideas. And to round out the video, I do want to say there is so much negativity right off the bat around most new games that are announced that are not big AAA well-known projects. And to be fair, criticism is always fair. Everybody has the right to criticize whatever they would like, but I have faith in this team. I think that it could be something that's very, very cool, and I think they have the potential to make something that could set a new foundation for potentially a new sub-franchise within the universe of Tom Clancy. But let me know what you think. If you are as excited as I am, let me know in the comments section down below. If you're very hesitant, I would love to know why. Just in general, share your thoughts on XDefiant. Should be an interesting one to keep track of over the course of the next few months as we inch towards a release sometime in the near future.